Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. We appreciate you joining us. We've had a great week on the show this week, and I've been enjoying getting ready for you. I've actually posted a segment that Billy Hughes, Mayor of Gulfport, posted of us doing a little bit of practice. But as I've mentioned, I've been asked to join them as a quote unquote celebrity for the Better Way to Give Foundation. It's the Fofo and Mofo's Monster Funkaholics One Coast Jam Farewell But Not Gone Tour next Thursday, May the 22nd. It starts at 6:00, and great bands are going to be there. Stars, Hip Pocket, Cut Bait, The Soul Savants, Unfazed Show and Band. Of course, Mayor Billy Hughes, Mayor Fofo Gillich, Mayor Jay Willis, Transportation Commissioner Charles Busby, Supervisor Nathan Barrett, Hugh Keating, Chet Landry, Buddy Leach, Trish May, our own Gerard Gibbert, myself, Darren Johnson, Chris Hoochin, and Patrick Sanders, among others, I might add. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I haven't played drums in a while. I guess once you're a drummer, you're always a drummer. So Billy invited me over to sit in with his band, Cut Bait, which incidentally, every one of those guys are pure to the heart. I was so honored to have the opportunity to spend time with them, just all really good people. And I got behind Billy's electronic drum set, which is awesome. I've never played one of those before. And it came back to me as if I was just sitting in that drum set yesterday. It was so much fun to do it again. And I'll be playing probably 3 songs with a little, it'll be a montage of players, but the center of attention for the songs that I'll be playing will be the mayor of the city of Biloxi, Fofo Gillich, on his piano. So I'm looking forward to it. It's next week, and you can look it up. You can get tickets. You can buy tables. You can do whatever. SuperTalk is a sponsor for sure, but it's at the Centennial Plaza at their new kind of outdoor venue there, and the weather's looking to be really nice. So come join me. Come join the mayors and others, and Gerard Gibbert and myself. Gerard's also a drummer, and we're gonna have a lot of fun for a good cause. So come join us. Now let's shift gears and move over to my friend Jeff Duncan, who is a columnist for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, award-winning on the NFL Hall of Fame selection committee. He's an author. In the fact that I'm in the process of finishing my book, I can totally appreciate the agony that he described to me when he wrote his books. Amazing process for sure. Jeff, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good, Ricky. Hope you're having the muse visit you daily with your book, because I know the pain.
Woo! I tell you, it's interesting. My writing usually starts about 3:30 in the morning. Book's been finished for a while, but as you know, man, once you get it finished, you're just now getting started. You get a first draft done, and you've really just then, even though you may have literally completed something, it serves as nothing but an outline, because from that point forward, as you start zeroing in on sentences and words and stories and, remembering what you forgot to add in there and deleting something you had in there that, that needs to be replaced by something else, and finding those inspirations, it is an iterative process. I never realized how much it would change. And I think it's changing for the better, just going through the process. But it's agony, man. I've sat in tears more than once, bringing it all together. But as you were explaining the more recent book that you wrote with Steve Gleason, how it changed your life, I get it, man. I get how it changed your life.
I can see why so many people just bail out and go to AI now, because it's a lot easier to do that than to go through the pain of writing. I mean, what was the line from, was it Ernest Hemingway or Mark Twain? I would have written shorter, but I didn't have the time. I mean, that's so true, because, it's so much easier to write long than write short. And so the process of editing, like you're talking about, going in and crafting and finding the fat on the content is a painful process, but it's a necessary one. So I had an old editor used to always say, his phrase was, and this might be, not appropriate, but he used to always say, vomit the story. Just get in front of your laptop and just let it all out, get it out there on the page, and then, then go in and there's something to that. Once you get it on the page, you can make easy corrections.
Yeah. I'll tell you one last point. This morning, what I want to have at the very beginning of this book is a note to my grandkids. And I wrote that note to my grandkids this morning about how I hope these lessons are able to help them in their lives. And gosh, man, it was a tear producing assignment. I'm really glad. I'm really happy with where I landed, but it reminds me of the inspiration, trying to capture these lessons in life that can be passed on generationally, that can take the pain from my dyslexia battle and from Katrina and other challenges throughout my life, and so many other stories that I'm able to bring into this book. But I'm able to share it with them, and maybe this blueprint or roadmap that might possibly make their lives a little bit easier to navigate. And that's what I hope. But it's been a very, very touching, experiment. And I hope it evolves to something that touches other people as well. So I appreciate your encouragement along the way. You've been quite an encouragement. And as we talked about the book that you wrote with Steve literally over months, you and I chatted about on this show and off this show. I can't fully appreciate what that was like. And then you add into it Steve's disability and how difficult it was for him to translate what he was thinking in his mind through his eyes to help you edit and tell the story. Wow, what a process, man. I still think that should be a documentary, Jeff.
Well, I mean, Steve's done so many documentaries, the content's just about used up. But he's an amazing guy. We've talked about him a bunch. I mean, he was at Jazz Fest every day this year, every day. I mean, I can't go to Jazz Fest every day, and I'm not fighting a terminal disease. So Steve, I think, and he's still a rock star. I mean, he got a great shout out from Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder at the biggest show of the concert. They said some nice words about our book. So it was a great experience, but I was worn out after one day out there, and he's out there every day.
Well, you wrote a column about the Saints schedule. The headline is "The Saints schedule is user-friendly but reflects club's declining star power." And I understand why you wrote that. Obviously, I read it, and we can talk about that. But in launching the new schedule, the Saints kind of made an attempt at some sort of humorous skit that involved reporters and the head coach. I thought Kellen Moore was a good sport for going along with it, but I thought it was okay. It wasn't great, but I noticed you were not in the room. Well, I mean,
for background or context for the listeners or viewers, this is an NFL thing. It's like the schedule release. All the teams participate in putting out a video. It's kind of an inside baseball thing among the teams to compete with each other. Their video departments, their social media departments. It's a inside baseball competitive thing between each of the teams. Who can come up with the most creative, fun video about the schedule release? And if you remember a year ago, the Tennessee Titans hit it out of the park. They had one where they went down on Broadway. If you've been in downtown Nashville, it's kind of their canal or Bourbon Street. And they just asked fans, they showed them logos of the teams the Titans were going to play and asked fans, what is that logo? Can you name the logo? And they got all these hilarious responses, and they put together a video from that, and it was hilarious. And, some of these teams really spend months and months on this schedule release video to try and jazz it up because, it's the off season. You're looking for something to kind of sell, and that's what these teams do. So that's why the Saints did it. They're all doing it, and they're competing with each other. I don't know if there's an actual contest or it's just kind of a bragging rights thing. But if you look at say like a team like the Chargers, they're pretty well known for being among the best at this. And they put months of work and resources. Some teams hire celebrities to come in and be a part of it. It's a big deal to them. So yeah, I get it. They're having fun with the schedule release, which otherwise is just kind of a boring thing. They're trying to jazz it up.
Well, if they've had a year to think about it, they could have done a better job. Again, it was okay. At times, frankly, it was a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know if that's because I'm a former publisher and it was kind of directed at the media. I don't know what it was, but there was some chuckling moments. But overall, they could have done better.
I like that Kellen Moore's leaning into his, everyone's kind of gigs him a little bit about being bland, and he even said that self-deprecatingly. I mean, I thought at times Pete Carmichael was bad to deal with from a personality standpoint as offensive coordinator. Even Dennis Allen would get that, but I think Kellen Moore is even more bland, and it's not going to matter if he wins games. That's the one thing. If he wins football games, nobody will care. He can be like Tom Landry and just be a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, look, we're at the end of the segment. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk about the schedule. And as you pointed out, the club's declining star power, and it manifests its way on the schedule. We'll talk about that when we come back on the other side with Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I hope you're having a great day. We're joined by my friend Jeff Duncan. This is Friday on this show, so Jeff Duncan's with us from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. In his recent column, it says the Saints' schedule is user-friendly, but reflects clubs' declining star power. It is, there's obviously some teams, certainly that's true every year, especially at the beginning of the schedule, that are a little bit intimidating. When you look at it just overall, what's your first impression and what's your evaluation of the schedule? And then we'll talk about the lacking star power after that.
Well, obviously it's a fourth place schedule because they tied with the Panthers for third, and the Saints lost the tiebreaker, so they ended up in the fourth place. And the way the NFL schedule formula works, you play a corresponding teams in the other divisions for where you finish. So it's basically a last place schedule, which on paper looks pretty easy. When you're playing the last place teams from all the other divisions, those teams struggled a year ago. But we found in the NFL, of course, sometimes that doesn't work out that way. The Washington Commanders are a great example. They were a last place team 2 years ago. I remember when the schedule came out, everybody looked at that game for the Saints and said, well, that's a win, and that team ended up being very good. So you just have to kind of see how it plays out. I had the Saints executive make a point to me, hey, 2000, the Saints were in the same boat. They were coming off a 3-13 season. They brought in Jeff Blake. So they did have a veteran quarterback. They're a little different that they brought in Jeff Blake, but they ended up going to war that year after Blake got hurt with Aaron Brooks, who'd never played a snap in an NFL game. And he had a rookie head coach in Jim Haslett, and they won the division and won the first playoff game in franchise history. So it's not impossible. We've seen it happen before. So just because they're not on all these primetime games and the national perception of the program here is not very good, doesn't mean it's going to play out that way.
When you look at the schedule, of course, you never know for sure, but it does look like there are some teams in that allotment of teams that we're going to be playing that are definitely going to improve this year. I mean, the handwriting's on the wall, isn't it?
Yeah, like a good example would be, say, like the New England Patriots. You look at them; they were a last place team, but they've got their quarterback in place in Drake May. They had a very good draft. A good free agent period. So, that's a team I think that's on the way up. But the Saints are playing a few teams like that. The Chicago Bears, they have Caleb Williams in place. They now have Ben Johnson on the staff. Of course, they got Dennis Allen as their defense coordinator. So that's a team a lot of people are predicting is on the arrow is pointed upward with them. And so we'll see. I mean, the Saints could very well be that with a new head coach and, a draft class that everyone's, kind of excited about. And a lot of it's going to come down to Tyler Shuck, I think. I mean, I think it's just going to come down to how quickly he can make that transition. I don't think this team is going to bring in another veteran starter. I mean, they might bring in a veteran backup just in case, but I think they're going to ride with Tyler Shuck this season.
Well, listen, you and I haven't talked about this, but clearly Tyler Shuck is his to lose now, most likely. But Derek Carr's retirement was a favor to the Saints, and I mean, this is the best case scenario for the Saints under the circumstances, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, it really kind of let the Saints off the hook in a lot of ways. I think this. I said this on social media the other day. I mean, I think this was basically a settled negotiation. A negotiated settlement. I know on the surface it looks like retirement. I'm not buying that. I think there was clearly a negotiation to let's get together here and make this a happy ending for everyone involved. Everyone saves face. Saints get to claw back some of the money against the cap. He gets a $10 million parting gift to go off into retirement. If he wants to come back a year from now, I think the Saints would let him do that, even though they would have his rights. I think that's probably part of the settlement. Is we're not going to hold you hostage here for a draft pick or something. We're going to let you walk. All this will play out, I think you'll see in the next year.
Yeah, I mean, he kept the $10 million. Isn't the number the Saints get to bring back to the salary cap around $30 million?
Correct. And I think the reason they were able to do that, the reason they were able to leverage that was because he played this injury angle. Like I said, I think that was a mistake because now the Saints could say, why did we not know about this injury sooner? We renegotiated your deal. That was going to go probably to court. That was going to be an arbitration. It was going to get messy. And I think they met behind closed doors. I know that there was a meeting. I don't know exactly the nature of it, but I assume it was about this, saying we don't want this to get messy. Let's just settle this privately and quietly so everybody wins. And I think that's how this was played out.
Is one of the winners, because it's interesting, if you look at what has been said, Mickey Loomis took a lot of heat. But it was interesting. It was a heat around speculation because people generally didn't really understand what was going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of mystery around all this. Is Mickey kind of one of the winners that comes out of this?
It depends on how you look at it. I mean, if Derek Carr would have just come to camp, reported, and played through this, the Saints would have been stuck. So they were actually kind of fortunate. They were fortunate that he played this card. Otherwise, they were stuck with him. And that's one of the reason I said on social media the other day, if you look at the big picture, what it tells me is Derek Carr really did not want to come back here because, I know he had family members here that sold their houses. This was months ago. A lot of breadcrumbs indicating he was not coming back here. He wasn't here for Super Bowl. This is long before the injury news came up.
Yeah.
So, a lot of speculation there, yes, but a lot of informed speculation. And the fact that he informed them through the media report about the shoulder injury the weekend before they were going to have their conditioning program, caught everyone off guard. And I don't think it sat very well with the organization. So in the end, I think they end up being very fortunate is the way I would describe it.
Rookie mini camp just happened. Tell me about what the buzz is around Tyler Shuck.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, it's a rookie mini camp. They're playing on air. I don't get excited about that. You know that. I mean, he's what you expect. He's 6'5" guy. He's a big athletic guy. He's why he's why the Saints went so highly. I mean, he's got all the traits that you look for in a quarterback. I don't care that much about watching the physical stuff. I want to see how this guy conducts himself, what kind of leadership skills he shows. The intangibles are what I think separates leaders and quarterbacks. I think that's what Derek Carr lacked. I mean, if you go out and watch Derek Carr throw a ball, he's incredible. And Jameis Winston would routinely throw the best pass you've ever seen in practice. But there's more to it than that. And so right now, they're out there running around kind of in underpants. These guys are drinking from a fire hose right now. They're just trying to figure out. It's their first introduction to the Saints offense and defensive schemes. So they're just trying to keep their head above water. And they're doing it against other rookies. So we'll learn a lot more when we get in the fall and they start going against the veterans, and you can kind of get a sense. And I think that's going to be a fascinating camp with this quarterback competition.
Well, you made in the short time we have left, Jeff, you made the point about the club's declining star power, which I think was a really good point. And you saw it manifest itself in the schedule. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's been going on since Drew Brees retired. The Saints, I remember Sean Payton saying years ago when he first got to the Saints, they played a lot of noon games. They weren't in the primetime Fox spot at 3:25. They weren't on the primetime games at night on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday nights. And he said that changes when you have success. And sure enough, I mean, the Saints would regularly, in their heyday, be on 6-7 times on primetime. And also they were routinely on in that national Fox Sunday afternoon spot. And we've seen it decline. I think I charted it a few years ago. They went from 9 of those games down to 6, down to 4. I think last year they were 3. And this year they're pretty much 0. So it just shows you when you have a rookie head coach, unproven quarterback situation, those are the two faces of a franchise. You're not going to have national appeal. And so the Saints are going to have to be successful to earn that back.
Interesting, situation. This is going to be a turning point year for the Saints in so many different ways. It could be the beginning of building something special, or it could be a long road. There's a lot to unveil yet, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it could get worse before it gets better. I really do. And I think that the transition, we're in the middle of it right now. We're going to see where it goes. But this roster, I think, got a long way to go. They're transitioning to a 3-4 defensive scheme. They've got personnel that really doesn't fit that. They've been playing 4-3 the entire time. So they've got a lot of misfit toys. There's just going to be a lot of questions that this coaching staff's going to have to solve. And there's a lot of coaches on this staff that are first time in the NFL, so they're going to be learning as they go as well. So I just think there's a lot of questions. That's why the expectations are so low, and I think they're the one of 3 longest shots in the NFL on the Super Bowl odds.
Well, look, you're my Debbie Downer, and you're usually right.
I call it reality, baby. I call it reality.
After the first 2 games last year, I was ready to go to the Super Bowl, and you said, "Oh, buddy, hold your darn horses. Don't get so excited yet." So you were right. Hey, listen, God bless you, my friend. It's been a pleasure to spend some time with you.
All right, we'll talk next week, Ricky.
You bet. Hey, when we come back, JT Mitchell from SuperTalk will join us.